You're listening to Radio Primavera Sound, proudly presented by Cupra.
All right, that was Horizon by Daft Punk from the new 10th anniversary edition of Random Access Memories. And I want to talk a little bit about this album because I've done a few Daft Punk podcasts. I did a whole Discovery one breaking down the various tracks. And it's been a while since we've had, some substantial new Daft Punk music. And we're probably not going to get all that much more, to be honest. So I want to talk a little bit about this. So, Random Access Memories 10th Anniversary Edition kind of does what it says. 10 years ago, Random Access Memories, their fourth studio album was released, and this reissues it with 35 minutes of extra music. It's kind of a mixture of Horizon was this Japanese bonus track that you could very easily find on YouTube or wherever. There's early takes on Give Life Back to Music, Get Lucky, and Lose Yourself to Dance, like vocoder test it's called. So they're kind of interesting. I think GLBTM, as they've called it, I think is the absolute gem of the collection. It's like a sort of progged out discotheque on Give Life Back to Music, and I actually genuinely prefer it to the original song. It's got this lovely piano played by Gonzalez, these lovely acoustic guitars, and I think it's absolutely lovely. Now, it doesn't have the vocals of the originals, but I wasn't all that keen on the vocals anyway, and I think this is just a far lovelier song. The early take on Get Lucky was just called GL. Does a similar kind of thing, actually, kind of like it feels a lot more relaxed, a lot deeper maybe, but it's kind of only 30 seconds long, so it's kind of hard to say too much about it. Although I do really, really enjoy it. I don't know why it's only 30 seconds long. I'm sure there must be like a longer version somewhere. And Lose Yourself to Dance, the vocoder test. Well, as it happens, Lose Yourself to Dance is my least favourite song on Random Access Memories. I'm just not really into it. And I think this kind of is slightly better, but it's not a very high bar, to be honest. As I say, I don't particularly like the original song. And it's quite low-key and it kind of quite works. So you've also, along with that, got the writing of Fragments of Time, which is basically this. Well, it's kind of what it says. It's Daft Punk and Todd Edwards in the studio discussing the writing of the song Fragments of Time from Random Access Memories, while the song kind of loops in the background. It does one or two more things, but most of it's just playing on a loop. And it's really, really interesting to hear them at work, to hear them kicking around new ideas, to hear how they came up with certain things. But I've only listened to it once, and I tried to listen to it again this morning, and it doesn't really bear repeat listening for me. What else do we have? We've got Touch, the 2021 epilogue, which is like this really distilled version of Touch from Random Access Memories. I think it's like 3 minutes long. And it's obviously the version they used in the video when they broke up, which a lot of people have been calling for. It's really lovely, really lovely. But again, I think almost the point of Touch is that it is long and kind of epic. So I kind of prefer the original version. Although, as you will see later, I have worked out how to use it. So the new songs, okay, well, there's Horizon. There's also Horizon Ouverture. Maybe we should, count them as one. Although Horizon Ouverture was totally new. No one had kind of heard it before. And they are both brilliant. I mean, Horizon Ouverture is this sort of orchestral number, but absolutely kind of beautiful melody. And it made me think, imagine if Thomas Bangalter, had a melody like that on his recent kind of ballet. I would have absolutely loved it. It's really gorgeous, and the way it goes into Horizon is perfect. And then we've got Infinity Repeating, which again is another of the absolute gems. It's with Julian Casablancas and the Voids. Of course, you had Julian Casablancas on Random Access Memories. And it's unlike anything else in the Daft Punk catalogue, which I think has to be a good thing. It's quite jazzy. It's got these kind of rolling drums, very soft, again, very kind of proggy. I'm not convinced it would have fit in exactly on Random Access Memories, or if it had gone in there, it would have made a very interesting kind of part of the album. And I absolutely love it. I was wondering, is Julius Casablancas one of their best collaborators? I noticed he's also doing some kind of interviews, some video interviews around this re-release, which is kind of a beautiful thing. What else we got? We got Prime 2012 Unfinished, which again, I've got to say is pretty inessential. It's kind of quite beautiful. It's got some lovely... It's kind of between Tron and Random Access Memories. You've got strings and you've got electronics. But it doesn't quite reach the level of the other one. So I would say Horizon Ouverture Horizon, absolutely essential, brilliant. GLBTM, also utterly brilliant, the gem of the collection. Infinity Repeating is brilliant again. Then you've got Get Lucky Early Take, which is great, but kind of a bit short. Prime, I'm not mad on. LYTD Vocoder Test, which is pretty good. The Writing of Fragments of Time, interesting, but you're only going to listen to it once. And Touch 2021 Epilogue, which is nice, a kind of aftertaste as a little extra thing. But again, not totally essential. So what does it tell us about Random Access Memories? Well, I have a kind of theory that there's like two Random Access Memories. There's the sort of proggy and weird album, and there's the pop album. I recently wrote a piece on this for The Guardian calling Random Access Memories the new Dark Side of the Moon. And this anniversary edition really ties into that really well, because it's very heavy on the kind of prog side, the kind of gentleness, the progness. And I think it basically showed us that it could have been a very, very different album. They did make some very particular decisions in what they're doing, and must have decided to take it one way. And as I say, a lot of these early takes, so it's kind of interesting. They were first going for this kind of slightly more organic sound, I would say, slightly more disco-y. And then it went kind of more pop towards the end. Maybe that was always the plan. Who knows? But what I have done is I've put together what I'm calling Prog-Some Access Memories. Very good, or possibly not, which is this 16-track album. I've made it as a playlist, obviously, on Spotify, which combines songs from the two Horizon Ouverture, Horizon, GLBTM, The Game of Love, Georgia by Moroder, Within, Instant Crush, Infinity Repeating, Touch, GL, Get Lucky, Beyond Motherboard, Fragments of Time, Contacts, and Touch Epilogue, which for me, I'm going to say, is like my ultimate edition of this album. That is probably what I am going to end up listening to, and I'll post a link from that so you can check that out if you want. Basically, impressions, I'm really pleased with this release. It's an excellent gift to kind of Daft Punk fans. I mean, often these, anniversary reeditions feel a bit like they're scraping the cupboard for things which are down the back. And to be frank, when I saw some of the track listing and saw some of the times, I was like, I'm not entirely sure what this is going to be like. It's turned out really well. It's enhanced the album. It's made me think of the album in different ways. And it's also kind of made me appreciate the original album more, which is a very beautiful thing. So, yeah, I am a big fan of this. And that was my brief review. And now we're going to we're going to play one of those songs. This is Infinity Repeating, Daft Punk, Julius Casablancas and The Voids.
You're listening to Radio Primavera Sound, proudly presented by Cupra.